the kind of nice area. You know, I like to watch a few bands, but then I don't like all the kind of like...
But you don't go to the mud.
I don't like the mud and the camping and, you know, all the drunks.
That's the best bit.
I know. But I'm antisocial, man. Like I said, you know, I like people for a bit, and then I come back out. I dip in and I dip out. You know,
people can be a little bit like, you know, going to, you know, into the ocean for the first time. You know, you dip your toe here, and then it's like,
yeah. I love it.
Sit out first.
Okay. I remember why I stayed away, and I go back to my cave.
We won't see James for a week. Going back to his James Cave. That should be the name of your next album, James Cave.
James Cave. Yeah, I should call my studio that, actually, the James Cave. That's a good idea, man.
Yeah. Talking about albums, so Make Anger Great Again. So that's your latest. I've got to say, man, like, I really like it.
Oh, thanks, man.
I really, really like it. The first time that I heard your voice, it just reminded me of Prince.
Wow. That's cool.
You know, it reminded me of Prince, but also the way, you know, he was a great guitar player as well. I was just like... When I listen to something for the first time, as you must imagine, like a lot of people send me music constantly, and it's great, but it can be so overwhelming. I like to close my eyes. Oh, how this sound like, and it's like detaching all these little bits and bobs, and the voice, and the guitar, and the drums, and just analyzing everything, you know. I guess that's the way I am. I'm a little bit weird like that. And I just like, yeah, like a modern Prince almost. And I really like that. And
thanks, man.
It was something special.
Prince is a definite influence on me. Maybe not musically, but as a kind of creative force. You know, a guy with a lot of instruments, produces his own records, does his own thing, changes style quite a lot. He's an inspiration to me in that regard, and he's a musical genius as well. So I love Prince, but obviously the music I do is very different to what Prince does. But I think the spirit is kind of the same. Mm-hmm. Like, I do the instruments, I produce it, I do it on my own label. And this album, Make Anger Great Again, is like quite a heavy hard rock album. But then the album Home that I did before, like my last solo album, was quite singer-songwritery, acoustic-y, quite pop. And then obviously Kaishira was kind of progressive and alternative. And then my first solo album, 9IP, was experimental electronic music. So I change all the time, and I just do whatever I want to do, whatever's interesting to me at the time. And I think Prince was very similar to that. Like, he would do like a hardcore pop record, then an instrumental funk record, and whatever he wanted, you know. So I admire that about Prince, and I suppose in that way it was similar.
Yeah, absolutely. And he just, like, you know, he just did whatever he wanted, and he didn't give a damn, you know, and he was just admired for that.
Yeah.
Especially back in the 80s, you know, like when the society was so much different than it is right now.
Yeah.
You know, and he just, being discriminated as well, and just been hard, you know, for him at the time.
No, legends, man. Freddie Mercury, Prince, you know, these guys are icons for a reason, you know.
Absolutely. Like, so what was the inspiration for Make Anger Great Again then?
Well, I mean, like, I wrote it like January and I recorded it in February this year. And it was about, like, you know, Boris and Brexit and Trump and all the shit that was going on in the world. We kind of got used to because it was like constant. Like, I've always written political music. Like, the first two Kaishira albums are all completely political. And then I got more interested in personal things like mental health and death and life stuff. And now I kind of, like, I got so pissed off with everything that was happening, and I was like, why aren't people more fucking angry about this? You know?
Yes, absolutely.
Trump, this was before the pandemic was even a thing, so it was very much like nobody was pissed off about it, and like Trump was always saying make America great again, so I kind of took that and thought, like, let's make anger great again, let's fucking get out there and do something about all this shit. And so it was kind of like me coming back to writing about politics after a little break, you know. But then I picked up the master disc for the record on the day that they announced the lockdown in the UK. So as soon as I got the actual disc, everything changed, because everything was now about the pandemic and the lockdown and Black Lives Matter and on all the protests that were happening throughout the lockdown. So it was kind of uncanny that I'd written this kind of record about making anger great again, And then the day I got the disc, everyone started like fucking kicking off and protesting, and it's been like that ever since, you know? It's crazy.
It's like going back in time and getting that, you know, little guitar. And then it's like, this happened for a reason. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you release this this album, and that couldn't be any more relevant to everything that's happening.
It didn't help though, because I thought like, oh, this is the right record for now, you know. But it wasn't really, because everything became so delicate and so on the edge all the time. Me singing about making anger great again and rising up and protesting, I had a lot of obstacles because of that. So like YouTube took the video down, Facebook wouldn't let me promote the record on Facebook. So and obviously because of the pandemic, all the magazines were closed, so we couldn't get any press for the record through the usual channels and promote it online because of the political content, you know. So it was difficult. So I had this awesome record that I was proud of, and then I thought the message was very relevant, but I wasn't allowed to sort of put it out there really. So it's been tricky.
Must have been really frustrating for you though.
It was like when YouTube took the video down, it was like, well, I don't have a song. I can't play it on the radio. They won't play it. I can't even share the video on Facebook. It was fucking hard work.
I bet, because like, well, I guess, you know, they probably, this is most likely, were inclined to think, well, no, this is just too sensitive. You know, it was probably, just too sensitive. Yeah. But at the same time, well, it's not... Well, yes, let's make anger great again. It's not the anger as in, you know, like in a literal sense. You know what I mean? It's more like, it's not like, oh, you know, punch your neighbor in the face. They might have coronavirus. Not like that, man. It's just more of like, well, yes, you know, anger is not, it can be a negative thing, but it can also be a positive thing.
Totally, yeah. Totally.
You know, it's...
I mean, in the video that they took down, it was they had a problem with the protest footage, but there's no violence there. I'm not saying to people to go out and burn things down and smash windows. I was talking about being angry enough to get up and do something, rather than just talking about it, to actually get up and get involved and do something about it. But I suppose because everybody was rioting at that time, it was seen as I was encouraging that kind of behavior, which I wasn't really, because I wrote it months before.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But now I guess we've come to a point where, well, we're still like, we on lockdown 2.0, but I have a feeling that now it's just it's a little bit different. Yeah. It feels more normal.
Yeah.
And more like, I guess for me as a parent as well, like the schools are open, so my kids can go to school and actually lead kind of a normal life to them, you know. And it's not so bad that we can't necessarily go to, you know, to the restaurant for dinner or whatever, but it is bad for people that run these businesses, because now their livelihood is down in the shitter. It is bad, but it's just like, I feel that sometimes, you know, well, most of the time our government isn't doing enough. And then again, you know, without getting too political, because when it comes to politics, I think I could just be here talking about it all day. Especially like as a foreigner myself, when Brexit came, I was so upset, you know, when people voted for Brexit, because being a person from Portugal, but also Portugal being part of the EU still, I thought when I came here that I would have the same rights as any other British citizen or UK citizen, whatever you want to call it. But then it came to a point where, you know, I really felt like an immigrant. You know, I felt like an immigrant. I've made me sad, man. It made me really sad, because I felt all these people that just didn't want a person like me here.
Yeah.
Do you know? And also a person that, for me, I've worked almost all my life. You know, apart from the past 5 years, I haven't been able to due to illness.
Yeah.
And I honestly, like, I felt so upset. So upset.
I bet you did. And I just hate the whole mentality behind it. You know, I mean, I love being part of Europe. I love being part of the broad world, you know. So I just don't get the thinking behind wanting to stay on this little island surrounded by water, and not be part of anything broader. And like Europe is right on that doorstep. And, what a wonderful array of cultures. You got France, Spain, Portugal, Italy, right there on the doorstep. And it's like, we've lost so much for not being a part of that, like, I can't get the thinking behind it.
No, I really can't. But then again, I just have to go with the flow, and see what happens. But yeah, I was angry, but then there was nothing that I could do apart from just respect the result and just to do what they asked of me, which is to, apply for, it's like a right to remain that you have to apply for.
Right.
If you want to have the same rights as a British citizen, and which, okay, I've lived here for nearly 20 years, so it's like, well, my life's here. You're not expected to just pack your shit and go.
Yeah, what the fuck?
But like myself, a lot of people that came to the UK, they came to work, they came to have a better life because of organizations like the NHS, our great NHS. And where I come from, there's no affordable care. You know what I mean? Like, you have some kind of like health insurance, and a lot of people don't have that, can't afford that kind of thing. And here in the UK, we've got the NHS. If you're poorly, if you need to go to the hospital, you don't need to worry if if you have insurance or not. You can just go. And a lot of people don't realize, they're just so used to having things on the plate, just there, to their disposal, and they don't realize that these people that actually come to this country, yes, bad people come here, but it's not, it doesn't make you a bad person where you come from. So you could be, you could be a British person and be bad, whatever. Honestly,
we're only going to realize everything that you're saying now. The public at large are going to realise in about 10 years' time, when there isn't an NHS and the economy is down the shitter and everything has gone shit because of these stupid decisions by these stupid politicians. But the stupid politicians will be gone in 10 years. They'll all be working for businesses, and we'll all be blaming them, going, oh, well, it's only this shit because they fucked it up. But, we're responsible as well for letting these guys get away with it and for voting in these stupid policies, because I think most people probably voted for Brexit not because they want to get rid of foreigners or anything like that. I think they just got sucked into all the propaganda. And I think that's been proven, like the Cambridge Analytica thing, where they were putting on people's Facebook timelines videos of like immigrants and terrorism and all this sort of stuff. And I think they just scared the shit out of a lot of people who are poor and are worried about their jobs and are worried about their community. And I think fear was what did it. And I think that they scared a certain part of the population into voting for this thing that isn't in anyone's benefit at all. And I think we're all going to feel the burn of that in a few years' time, or maybe even really soon. And I think we're going to realize that, we were lied to. I mean, we know that, but...
Yeah, were you actually following the US elections?
Yeah.
Were you? Honestly, I was glued to the screen for 5 days, and I think I watched more politics the last, the first 5 days of the election, you know what I mean, than I ever done in my life. I was just like, what? And I thought to myself, oh my God, if I keep watching American TV, I'm going to come out with an American accent as well.
Yeah. I get too involved in it, man, because I'm on Twitter, so I'm like commenting to Donald Trump and things like that, and people are like, they think I'm American, and then they check out my page and they see that I'm Welsh, and they're like, well, the fuck do you care? Why are you getting involved,
I was just like, come on, I really dislike Trump. I really dislike him. I really don't think that a country should be run by a businessman, especially a businessman who, is bankrupt, but also a businessman that owes more than $450 million.
Yeah.
But
I'm a liar and a misogynist and a racist, and just just a buffoon. Like, I think the worst thing about Trump that I hate is his kind of that macho, arrogant, say whatever you want and it doesn't matter kind of thing. Because I think that's catching on over here as well. Like Nigel Farage and Boris, they don't have to be statesmen.